Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Anna.
We're the Hutchinsons.
We own Hutchinson Maple Products in Lake Paul, Nova Scotia, and we're the largest certified organic maple producers in the province of Nova Scotia.
For over 21 years on the road, running a successful trucking business, we've had quite a journey that has taken us home here to Hutchinson Acres.
This is our story.
Does maple sap run at night?
Maple sap runs anytime the temperature comes above freezing, and that will be anywhere from November right straight through until May. Anytime it warms up above freezing, that sap will begin to flow.
Does tapping maple trees hurt the tree?
Tapping maple trees doesn't hurt the tree. We only take a very small percentage of the sap that flows at a particular time of the year. And when that sap changes and the tree starts growing, that's when we end the collection of sap. But that sap that keeps that tree alive, that grows the leaves, that grows wood, that continues all summer long. We do not interrupt that time of year in sap production.
How deep do you tap maple trees?
1.5 inches is how far we put our drill in our tap.
How long can you tap a maple tree?
We have tapped from December through until the 1st of May. Those are extremes. Traditionally, the bulk of our maple syrup is produced in that late February through until late April.
When does the maple season end?
The maple season will end traditionally sometime towards the middle to the end of April in the Atlantic provinces, Quebec as well, and that will get to a point that your sap will change a flavor and you'll get a buddy taste. And the reason it's called bud is because at that time of year, that's when our buds come out in the maple trees. Then there's a different chemical format in the syrup. So there's where the different taste, and that taste is not something that's desirable.
How much sap does one tap produce?
One tap will usually produce anywhere from 1 to 2 liters of finished maple syrup per year.
How long do you boil maple sap to make maple syrup?
That depends on how high you bring the Brix content up. Traditionally, maple syrup comes in at 1 to 3% Brix. From there, you can concentrate it through an RO machine and remove 75% of the water and bring the Brix level up to approximately 20%. At that point in time, it depends on the cooker that you're using. If you're using oil versus wood, it will be slower or faster. But typically in our operation, we can produce upwards of 30 barrels of maple syrup in a day, and there's 440 pounds or 150 liters in one of those barrels. But a smaller operation will have a small cooker, and his output will be much affected. So it does depend on your equipment size and your volumes.
How can you tell if maple sap has gone bad?
Maple sap, when it goes bad, will start to take on a different color. It will become cloudier. We have machinery that tests the bacteria in it, so we know if that bacteria is starting to come up or down in it.
What temperature do you boil maple sap?
Maple sap is usually boiled at sea level at 220 degrees. But if you remember back in school, as you go up in elevation, then that actually goes lower that you will reach your boiling point. It's the same with maple syrup. So we have a series of calibrations that we're continuously doing all day to calibrate that barometric pressure as it's changing and as we're cooking, and that does affect the draw, example, the temperature at which time it's produced to get that 66% Brix.
Can you start and stop the boiling process?
Yes, you can start and stop it, but there will be repercussions. If you stop that process and let it sit, and then finish it at a later date, your syrup will be much darker when you cook it. In other words, the longer it sits, half or partially cooked, then that darkness will increase. So if we finish at the end of the day, finish cooking, and we don't take the syrup out of our cooker, come back in the morning and start cooking, those first barrel or two will be a grade usually darker when we bring those off.
How long do you have to wait until you can tap a maple tree?
Maple tree typically wants to be a minimum of 9 inches to start tapping. Any sooner, and that tree will not have a long life. You will struggle to find a good clean place to put a hole later on in life. So that's why we want to leave the tree, get a good start in life with a good root system and a good size, 9 inches or more, before we look at it for tapping. That would depend on the growing time to reach that size. Could be anywhere from 20 to 30 years.
What is the best temperature for sap to run?
The best temperature for the sap to run is a -6 at night and a nice sunny +6 in the morning, and then that way the sap flows very good the next day.
What is maple sugar?
So maple sugar is exactly pure 100% maple syrup. So all we do is we cook it to a higher temperature than we would cook our maple butter. And basically this time we stir it right away when it's hot. So when it hits that temperature that we need it to be, we take it right away and put it into a big mixer and we stir. And we continue stirring until it starts to crystallize. And as it's crystallizing, it's turning into maple sugar. And you just keep stirring it until it gets to the right consistency. It's cooling at the same stage. And you just keep stirring and stirring until you get to maple sugar.
Can you use maple sugar the same way as regular sugar?
Absolutely. Maple sugar can be used exactly the same way as any other type of sugar. It's really nice because it's a little more, it's got a little maple flavor, obviously, but it's got the sweet flavor that you're looking for in your baking. Using it in your coffee and your tea, you can substitute it anywhere you would have regular refined sugar.
Where can you use maple syrup?
I love using maple syrup on a little bit of everything. It's a staple in our household, obviously. I love it on cooked sausages in the morning with breakfast. I love putting it in our coffee and our tea. Of course, on pancakes, crepes, anywhere where you would use it. On meats, it's beautiful, especially our chipotle and lemongrass. I love to use that when I cook a steak and use it as a finisher. So it's got some great uses everywhere. It goes right from breakfast right to dinner.
What might people not know about maple syrup?
Some people don't realize maple syrup comes from a tree. Some people don't have an idea that we actually take the maple syrup and it's in a form that is not maple syrup. It doesn't come as maple syrup out of the tree. It comes as maple sap. And then it's quite a process to get it to where you actually get it in the bottle. So it's quite a bit more work. People are quite surprised when they actually hear of the whole process as to how maple syrup is actually made.
Where is your maple syrup sold?
So we sell our maple syrup, of course, all of Nova Scotia. We're pretty much covered. We sell it to the Sobeys stores, Foodlands, co-ops, all the little independent stores, farm markets, restaurants, food service, hotels, pretty much everywhere you can think of in Nova Scotia. We have a distributor out in Alberta who is doing some selling out there. We have a couple customers in British Columbia. And then we export around the world. So we're in different countries. We're in South America, we're in the Middle East, and we're in Europe. So Hutchinson's maple syrup is global.
Do you bottle, package, and ship everything here?
Yes, we do. We do everything out in our facility here in Lake Paul. So we package it here, we bottle it here, we ship it here. Everything is done right here in Lake Paul.
How long have you been in business?
We started this about 15 years ago when the very first started. So yeah, about 15 plus years.
What is your favorite thing about the maple business?
I really enjoy meeting our customers and selling them a great natural product. I love the fact that we can produce maple syrup right here in Nova Scotia. We don't have to go far to do it. It's coming from the ground that we live on, and the forest that we basically, it sustains our forest. One of the best things about maple syrup is that it's grown right here in Nova Scotia, and the trees will live forever. So that is what we really love about maple syrup.
And I might add too, with today's society really concerned about the trees being cut down, this is a way to leave those trees standing and produce something every year rather than one crop every 40 to 50 to maybe even 100 years. This is every year, it's non-stop, it's 12 months of the year, it doesn't stop.
Where can you find more information about your products?
You can find it on our website, which is hutchinsonacres.com, on Facebook and on Instagram.
Next week on Hutchinson Acres. It's the end of the maple season, and things are starting to wrap up.